Welcome to Petting Zoo, a place for humans and other animals. Welcome to the Petting Zoo Podcast. I like to think of this as a place for humans and other animals, um, somewhere where we can engage in creative exploration, but really, maybe it's more of a creative diary for me in particular, and a chance for me to involve others in what's sometimes a very private creative process. I think about writing and how we experience words in the world in which we live today. And I think about the relative alienation that many of us feel to books, or the changes that have occurred, I guess, in the society in which we live in terms of how we interact with the written word. And I thought, I could fight it. I could be a purist and think that, hey, um, the hard page, the paper page, is it the be all and the end all, and that's it. I'm not messing around with any screens. I know some of the research that's been done that basically elevates the experience of turning the page into something that's more than just tactile, but something that also reinforces the whole experience of reading and can have its own particular value in learning via the turning of a page rather than, for example, screens. But then it hit me. I'm also relatively active on social media. I don't know if I'm any more active than most people, but the point is, social media for me has over the years become a very interesting place whenever I choose it to be. I like to tell people that for me, for example, social media has become, in a way, a kind of diary. I like to look back at some of the reminders. These reminders pop up every once in a while about, this day last year, you did this, or here's a memory from whenever. And it's interesting sometimes to look back and see, oh, this is what happened 4 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe even 10, 11 years ago. And I'm not the type of person, despite all of my respect for paper and the conventional page, I'm not the type of person who's going to keep a conventional diary. And also at the same time, using social media as a kind of virtual, almost public diary, it kind of prompts me to put things in motion, to be reminded later, but in a way that involves others and perhaps those who have actually been a part of those original experiences. So, on the one hand, I've been reluctant to get back into writing poetry, which is something that I've always done all of my life. And I've also performed poetry very publicly, and done the whole spoken word thing. I've been reluctant to get back to writing poetry just for one fundamental reason, and that's really because I had to come to grips with the thought that I may not have much of an audience for the pure written word. Yeah, Might get some friends to go along, some social media contacts, people who've enjoyed my writing in that space. But really, in terms of a broader appeal, in a world like this where the written word, as I've said earlier or alluded to earlier, seems to have become a bit de-emphasized, what would be the point? Then it hit me. I've been going about this the wrong way. Because maybe what I need to do is to bring the experience of writing and sharing my own writing in a very interactive way that could be supported by the tools offered through social media. Maybe I could bring people into this process, also get feedback, reach new audiences, make it more three-dimensional in the sense of not just a matter of writing, but going back to some of the things that I've enjoyed doing, like performing. So vocalizing the words, vocalizing the poetry, bringing words and poetry and thoughts and all of these things to life. And what better way to do it through some of the platforms that exist now, like podcasting, and not just audio podcasting, but even video podcasting. And so I'm trying this out. I call this season 1. And maybe season 1 is basically just going to be a year. And over the course of that year, let's say if this all works out, I'm going to very regularly attempt to produce episodes of short form poetry. So once again, going back to the whole social media kind of thing and the way that we digest information or entertainment via social media or streaming or however you want to call it, I am going to focus on poetry that's presented in much more of much less of a duration as I'm doing now. So a minute or less. I'm talking about reels and shorts and TikTok videos. So really kind of forcing myself towards a discipline of brevity, précis, summary, really challenging myself to create an impact in as little time as possible. And by putting these poems and thoughts out there via podcast episodes and short form video excerpts, etc., I hope that over the course of this season, this year, a body of work will start to develop that will be source material for an audiobook when this is all done, this whole season, this year, God willing. And so this process should also allow me to get some feedback, right? To get people, the audience members commenting, whether it be on one social media platform or another, kind of giving an idea of which poems they enjoy the most, what kind of writing or performance they enjoy from me. And at the end of it all, kind of putting the best or um, I guess the material that has created more of an impact together into a singular body of work, an audiobook. maybe even an ebook, um, or a spoken word album, or all of the above, because the source material would have already been produced over a season of 365 days. I am excited about it. This will take me back to a lot of my past creatively. Um, as I mentioned before, I've done spoken word poetry, improv, and prepared. I've acted. I've won awards for acting as well. I've done multimedia production, including music production, video. And so this should pull a lot of these strengths together and make for a really interesting ride, a wild ride, but a ride in which a safe place will have been created for the exploration of all that is wild within this imagination. And that safe place is the petting zoo.
Follow and subscribe to Petting Zoo on your favorite social media platform.